Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. And of course, we'll be starting off with the front pages of the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with old notes, confusion as banks carry out CBN directives. The writer says open branches weekend, expect clearer directives today. POS operators ignore CBN warning on selling banknotes. Experts hold divergent views on implementation impact. On page 5, we have NAIRA SWAP. APC urged the federal government, CBN, to obey Supreme Court order, seeks Buhari's intervention. You can see that story on page 5. On page 35, no president in Nigeria's history came prepared, and that's coming from Bishop KUKAH. On page 31, presidential poll, Tinubu Shetima's agenda for women children, and that's coming from Senator Tinubu. Polls don't fail Nigerians, NGE urges INEC, security agencies. And NAIRA scarcity, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's coming from Buhari. Leah Sharibu, we won't stop fighting injustice. That's coming from Khan. Also, it's just 5 days to go to the election. How we got here, the parties, the Electoral Act, and the judiciary. You can read more on that on page 14. On sports, we have MPFL. Insurance remains unbeaten. And this one is from Owe Lakemfa. Says, it appears that the biggest beneficiary in the unraveling of the APC is the opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP), which might be the reason it is backing Buhari in the currency change fiasco. Let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with Tinubu APC governors beg Buhari Malami to respect the Supreme Court. The writer says from Addis Ababa, Buhari calls for patience over Naira hardship. Banks not ready for 200 Naira payments as cash squeeze enters fourth week. Adi, don't reverse policy, expand cashless outlets. Erufai instructs Kaduna MDAs to accept old notes. Merchants mop up old 500 Naira, 1000 Naira notes. Increase minting of 100 Naira, other lower denominations. Security experts urges the CBN. You can also see a photo story showing the officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) addressing National Youth Service Corps members at a pre-election training center in Kubwa, Abuja. Of course, Atiku still a countdown to 5 days to 2023 election. Atiku Tinubu will be in last push to sway voters. 80% of PHCs are non-functionals as federal government renege on total rehabilitation plan. Stories above, we have NIPC moves to improve national branding, FDI. You can see that story on page 5. On page 5 still, Nigeria lost $825 billion to graft in 23 years, says the CSO. Shoyinka distanced self from fake quotes on social media. Last year on the front page of The Guardian, again, Kaduna asked agencies to accept old notes as lawmakers seek El-Rufai's arrest. All right, so let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with 6 days to election. APC governors, bank CEOs in last-minute rush to clear Naira mess. The writer says that 12 governors, APC chair, wants Emefiele Malami to obey Supreme Court order. Naira crisis has brought so much pain. Adamu laments, Ganduje Abiodun absent. Bank CEOs want old notes collection extended to avert protest attacks on branch. And of course, you can see a photo story. And vote for leader with capacity, character. That's coming from Oyedepo. Ogun woman set self ablaze over 70,000 naira debt. Can lament Leah Sharibu's continued captivity. Stories above. Buhari, Jonathan, others became president unprepared, and that's coming from KUKAH. Stock investors lose 281 billion naira in 1 week. INEC to get poll allocation from CBN Tuesday. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, few queues may return as NMPCL depots run low. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And if you're just joining me still today in the news on Vanguard Life, I am Precious Chukudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Ali Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord Newspaper. Good morning. It's good to have you join me this morning.
Good morning, Precious. How are you?
Well, except for the cash crunch,
I
I
thought
don't
you
know
will
what to
have some
say.
cash with you this
Cash.
morning.
I think this situation is terrible now. It's extremely
It
terrible.
is.
All
It
right, let's
is.
delve in. And this morning, of course, what we have on the front page is the APC asking the federal government and CBN to comply with the interim order of the Supreme Court with regards to the NAIRA redesign. But I want to ask, is APC not the federal government too?
Well, it is the party in power, right? The federal government is headed by President Muhammadu Buhari. And it is important, just like his party man has just told him, it is important that he complies with the Supreme Court order. He is not showing example by defying the order of the Supreme Court. He is not showing leadership by defying the order of the Supreme Court, the judgment of the Supreme Court. With the president, who is supposed to be the number one citizen of the country, disobeys the judgment of the Supreme Court, then what might follow such an action may not be palatable. We are approaching anarchy. You can see some of his governors rising up to face him directly. That is what you get when a leader refuses to obey court orders. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has provisions for checks and balances, and those checks are vetted in both the legislature. As it concerns the executive, the checks are vetted in the legislature and the judiciary. They are there to check the executive. The executive is also there to check the judiciary when it is overstepping its bounds. Same for the legislature. In this case, the judiciary has given a judgment which must be complied with if you want the entire world to continue to respect us as a nation. Because it's not an embarrassment to Nigeria alone, it is an embarrassment to Nigeria among the Committee of Nations that the President of Nigeria has disobeyed a judgment of the Supreme Court. It further lowers the integrity of Nigeria in the International Committee of Nations. It is embarrassing. This judgment concerns the people. It affects the lives of the people. The court has extended the lifespan of the old currency till, I think, June. But the government has decided to disobey it and is doing something else. It doesn't speak well at all. And that is why you see people trying to demonstrate and fight against this government. We don't need demonstration at this time. We don't need destruction of public property at this time that we are approaching an election day this month. We don't need such acts of vandalism and irresponsibility at this crucial time. The president can do well by obeying the judgment of the Supreme Court, which says the old and the new currencies can circulate. They must circulate concurrently till June this year.
Of course, we can't close our eyes to the fact that there's tremendous difficulties that the Naira redesign is causing the people and also the nation's economy. And just take for example, like here at work, I have some of my colleagues who are even they can't even come to the office because they can't access even as low as 200 naira to come to the office. How do you react to this situation, especially when you look at it from the common man?
It is terrible. It's a punishment. It's like they are inflicting severe punishment on the people of Nigeria. It is obvious because this one is affecting everybody. Even if you are a big man, you used to have access to thousands or millions of naira, but now you are forced to go without cash in your pocket. There are things you can't buy with your card. You go to the market, the old woman selling vegetable does not even have a bank account. So you have no choice but to look for money to buy those things. Where the money is not available, that means the people will starve. It is unfortunate. It is a big punishment for the masses of this country. At a time that the election is approaching and the party in power is seeking re-election, this is the time they should try and make the people smile so that they will be voted in. But unfortunately, the reverse is the case. I mean, you are punishing the people. They can't have money. They don't have access to money. They can't get money to even feed. And you expect them to vote for you. I listened to his speech, urging the people to vote for APC. How would you expect people that are hungry to vote for your party again? Coming at a time that the election for which you want them to vote for you is just 4 or 5 days away. I don't know what is going on. Honestly, I don't know what gives APC the impression that people will vote for that party with what is going on in the country today. It is like they have deliberately shot themselves on the leg with this terrible policy of NAIRA, whatever they call the name. It is sad. In advanced countries, in the UK, since we have King Charles now, there have been a currency change. The old currency and the new one, the new currency carries the face of King Charles. Both the one carrying the face of King Charles and the Queen circulates concurrently. What happens is that once the old currency gets into the bank, it doesn't come out again. And the new one is brought out. Each time the old one goes in, it won't come out. That is the procedure. But here, you have redesigned the Naira and you are saying you give people 2 weeks or 1 month to replace their old notes. It is not possible. Yes, you may have some good intentions attached to this policy, but how does this policy goes with so much punishment is what baffles me. How the policy is going on with so much punishment for the masses is disturbing. People can't feed. People don't have access to money to even buy toothpaste in their homes. It is embarrassing. What kind of government do we have? Who are the advisors of this government? And the court gave a judgment that favors the masses. Somebody somewhere is saying that he won't obey that law. That judgment, sorry, that he won't obey that judgment. That's, you are inviting anarchy. So if people troop out now to start demonstrating, will you be happy as a leader? It is disturbing. I really felt very sad when I woke up this morning and I saw people trekking to work. People now trek to work. It is embarrassing. The government should obey the Supreme Court order, which allows the old and the new currency to circulate concurrently. That is the best thing they can do in this circumstance. They have no option but to obey that judgment.
All right. Despite the fact that the president has said that the CBN should recirculate the old 200 naira notes.
Have you seen it outside? It's not in circulation.
Like, some operators are actually saying that the situation will, get worse as we're advancing towards the election until after the election. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I certainly know that they are targeting some politicians with this policy. Whatever it is, why don't you punish the people that you are targeting and leave the masses out of this?
But there's a saying that says that when 2 elephants fight, the grass.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that they are allowing ordinary Nigerians that are facing their profession quietly. They are not politicians. They are the ones now suffering. Look at people who can't eat. Somebody An old woman sent a text to me this morning that she doesn't have credit and she doesn't have a bank account. I had to recharge her line for her. It is disturbing. That's an old woman who gets some change from his children who are residents in Lagos. Those children, they can't send cash to her because they don't have the cash. So what happens to her in the next few days if she can't eat? She will die, probably. God forbid. So the government should sit down and obey that court order which allows the two currencies to circulate concurrently. That's the best they can do. There is no magic they want to do. There is no magic. Even if you ask all the banks to release 200 into circulation, it is not going to solve the problem. Allow people to have access to their cash in the banks. Why will I have money in the bank and I don't have access to it? What is the essence of keeping money in the bank without being able to access that money to do whatever you want to do with it? God forbid, if there is an emergency, somebody is sick, he needs to make payments, or somebody is sick, he needs cash to buy drugs. What happens? Last weekend, I have almost 20,000 hanging. The POS are not working well. If you do transfer, it will debit you twice. If you try it twice, it will debit you twice and come out with an auto reverse ticket for you. And the thing will not reverse. As at this morning, they are yet to be reversed. So I have to go to the bank now to queue for the reversal of all those trapped money. Is that making any sense? What kind of policy is this government executing? You should do your things in a way that the masses will not be affected. The masses are not politicians. They are here. The prime aim of any government is to ensure that the masses are comfortable. It is to ensure the safety of the people, especially the very poor people. But the reverse is the case here.
You know, in his statement yesterday, the president said that we should exercise patience, that there is light at the end of the
Exercise,
tunnel.
which light is coming at the end of the tunnel? Somebody who cannot eat, you are asking that person to exercise patience. So will Nigerians exercise patience till they all die? What is the man saying? Do they think at all? It is annoying. I don't want to say things that will unpublishable things on air. So the best thing for this government is to obey that court order and reverse whatever terrible policies they are implementing now.
All right, so let's move on. And Bishop KUKAH has said that no Nigerian president came prepared in the nation's 62 years of history. What are your thoughts on this?
It is. If you look back, we've had coup d'etats, military regimes. It is the at the end of each of those coup d'etats, they just pick somebody. You are now the head of state. And the man will have to learn being head of state for 1 or 2 years. By the time he gets stable on that seat, there will be a counter coup. And then we had the Shagari regime. Shagari wanted to be a senator. He was co-opted into presidency. He won. He got into power. He wobbled and fumbled for 2 years. He was never stable until the military came again and removed him. Then we had several military governments. Between then, we had Ibrahim Babangida, who was produced through a coup d'etat. He also came to the scene as a Maradona. He was playing games for years. He got there, he didn't want to leave. He was forced to leave. Then Abacha came in. And don't forget that Abacha that came in, before he became head of state, they gave him a name, Khalifa. That means the one who will be king. At the end of the day, he came in there, stayed, he didn't also want to go. And then Obasanjo was brought out of the prison without a kobo left in his pocket. IBB went to him in Abeokuta to persuade him to contest. And he said, how many presidents do you want to make out of me? At the end of the day, he accepted, got there, wobbled and fumbled for 8 years, and left. We had Jonathan, or Umaru Yaradua. Of course, you know what happened to him. The period that he was there, he was mostly abroad, treating himself. Eventually, he died. Jonathan was not prepared to be head of state. He came in. So, Father KUKAH is saying the obvious. If you look at the history of the presidents that we've had, they all came unprepared. And that is what is responsible for the terrible level of development that we've had in Nigeria. As a country, an oil-producing country, we don't have a functional refinery. Despite all the governments that we've had, we don't have stable electricity. Despite all the governments that we have, we don't have drinkable water. If you want drinkable water, you have to arrange it by yourself. After all the presidents we've had, we don't have motorable roads. Travel from Lagos to Shagamu, you will see the potholes that are big, so big that they can swallow a car on those roads. Travel from Lagos to Ife, you will see holes as big. I mean, as at now, as a nation that is over 60 years old, we should have good roads. We should have electricity. We should have stable electricity. That's what I mean. Not just electricity that will come for 1 hour and go for 24 hours. We don't even have a national airline. So what have we achieved as a nation in the last 60 years? This is due to bad leadership. Look at what we are talking about today. Currency swapping. You have new currencies and you don't want the old one to circulate together with the new one, which is the normal procedure in advanced countries. I have never seen anywhere in the world where they have new currencies and they are saying that the old one must stop at a given time. They give a time lag of over a year so that people will even get used to the new one. And once the old one gets into the bank, it doesn't come out. It replaces, it goes to where all the old currencies are supposed to be, and the new ones are brought out to replace the ones that has gone into the bank. It's a simple thing. I don't know why this government is making it look so difficult a thing to be done. It is sad. So we are still very backward in all aspects of human development. We are very backward. Look at what they are doing. People are talking about modular refineries today. You have come to say that you have deregulated the downstream sector of the oil industry. You don't have refineries. So what have you deregulated? Deregulation means you create a level playing field in that sector. Those who want to import can import. Those who want to refine locally can have access to private refineries and do whatever they want to do with their crude oil that will be allocated to them. Refinery A can decide that, look, I want to sell my petrol, my products for 150 naira. Refinery B could say, I'm selling mine for 160. The other refinery can say, I'm selling mine for 170. Then leave the sector to the forces of demand and supply. There must be a level playing field. Those who want to import should also be allowed to import. That is what I know about deregulation. But I don't understand the kind of deregulation that has happened in the downstream sector of the Nigerian oil industry without refineries.
All right, so let's just move ahead because Nigerians probably is too much. All right, so let's take Mr. and Mrs. And Mrs. is speaking this morning and says, "But why didn't you let us buy fruits from the old woman? I saw you eyeing
Hmm.
the young woman, the young lady next to her." And
Ah,
Mr. says, "Old things are being phased out. Example is the old Naira notes. We are encouraged to embrace young, I mean, new
new
things."
things. Mr. himself must be a cook. Hmm.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ali
You're
Mohammed.
most welcome. Oh.
Yes, thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out today's story, you can go to our website www.vanguardnjr.com to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you for watching.